Hello to the people. So this has been a long time coming video. Multiple people have asked how me and Lauren met, so I have written it down so I don't talk for 45 minutes straight about how we met. Yeah, so I have some notes to go through all the things that I definitely wanted y'all to know and how it kind of came about. I'm gonna record my video of how we met, and then Lauren's gonna record her version. So I'll start off by saying we met in 2015. We both went to BMT. That's where we met, was at basic military training. And I had zero intentions of ever being in a relationship, like right off the bat. I'd been single for a while and got out of like a serious relationship the year before and kind of just wanted to do something for myself and focus on me. So I had zero intentions of meeting someone and dating. I kind of wanted to just do me for a while, and that did not happen at all. To begin all of this, for us to get into a flight together for how they make the classes, they kind of just pick a big group of people and they say, you to you, y'all go and you start a flight. It all started by fate because I went at probably 3 p.m. and I came up from Dallas's MEPS group, which is just like your in-processing group. A lot of people fly in. Obviously she came from Iowa, and Texas, San Antonio is where everyone goes in the Air Force to do their training no matter where you're from. So I got there around 3 p.m. I'm not sure when she got there, but there was an individual that was freaking out, and there was maybe 30 people there to make a flight, but for some reason I just randomly was sitting there. I had no idea what was going on. They picked me and they were like, you and you, y'all are wingmen, go with this person to the hospital. And I was like, what? I had no background or history of military, so I had no idea what was going on. So I'm like, okay. Well, they forgot about us and we never got put into a flight. We got stuck over at the hospital being wingmen, which you just always had to have a buddy wherever you went. And long story short, we got forgot about. We weren't in a flight. We hadn't been picked with a flight, so we had no MTI or instructor over us. We had no idea what we were doing because we just got there. So all three of us were there until after midnight, and no one came and got us, and we kept saying like, hey, like where are we supposed to go, or what are we supposed to be doing? Like I think someone forgot about us. Finally someone comes and picks us up, and they bring us over to like the big auditorium where everyone gets dropped off on buses or taxis or whatever to get dropped off there. We start getting yelled at, and they're like, why aren't you in line? Why aren't you in this flight? Blah, blah, grab this bag and go stand over there. Which all three of us hadn't experienced getting yelled at yet because we had no idea what was happening. So we're like, okay. So we grabbed this bag of like, I don't know if it's like toilet paper and flashlights and weird stuff in it that they issue you in a laundry bag, like kind of like jail really. And we go get in line, and that is why I say fate and how I wound up in her flight, because I should have been with my friend Kat that was in a completely different flight, because we rode the bus down there together and I got pulled off to go to the hospital. So I never would have met Lauren if I wouldn't have had this very long forgetting about over at the hospital for like 10 hours. How I met Lauren is the first few days that we were in BMT, like we don't have name tags, so you're just wearing civilian clothes, and then they give you uniforms, but you don't have any name tapes or anything. So all of us don't really know each other that well. And Lauren wasn't sleeping on my side of the bunks or the beds and stuff. There was two separate divided areas. So every day for probably the first few days, once I like saw her, I couldn't say what, I mean, obviously I was probably attracted to her, but I can't remember that like right off the bat why. But I saw her and I was like, hey, what's your name? And she's like, Schmidt. And I'm very attracted and drawn to shy people because they're the opposite of me, and I like to bring people out of their shells. She doesn't have a name tape, and every day for probably 3 or 4 days, because I could not remember Schmidt, which I have a hard time pronouncing a lot of things, and she didn't have a name tape, and I'd never met a Schmidt before, so I was like, Schmidt. You know, for some reason I could not remember it, so I kept asking her, and she was like, it's Schmidt. And then she like, you could tell she was like super shy and didn't want to talk to me, so I was like, okay. As the days went on and I got to know her a little bit more, these are kind of some of the things I wrote down of how I slowly started to want to get to know her. Like, she was shy, I probably thought she was attractive, but I wasn't trying to flirt or obviously be with anyone at BMT. I was very stressed out and would... One second. So where was I? More and more that I saw she was shy, the more I like kind of wanted to get to know her. Some of the things that started to stand out is we were already pretty close to each other height-wise in the flight, and you kind of get sized up and you're supposed to be like tallest to shortest how you line up. So we were pretty close, but there's a lot of people close to our heights as well. So one thing I would do as I was wanting to get to know her a little bit better is I would like stand taller or kind of shrink down, so like when we lined up in our flight in our marching, that I was like right beside her or right behind her. So I would like, because you tall or tap, which is just a way of forming your formation up, and so I would manipulate my height to be able to be close to her, and that was one thing. Another thing is, so we had these Special K chocolate bars or strawberry bars that they would give us at like 8 or 9 p.m. at night. It was like your snack before bed, because you were on a very strict meal prep, 3 meals a day, and then you'd have a snack before bed. Well, I don't like chocolate, I hate chocolate. But at certain points, I'd be like, she loved chocolate, and that's very obvious, and y'all should all know she loves chocolate by this point of watching our show, or this channel. So I would get the chocolate bar sometime, which I always wanted strawberry, but I get chocolate, I'm like, hey, here you go. I just like, you know, was trying to flirt, basically. Which, this was all, to say this, is all subconscious flirting. Like, I knew I liked her, as like I was very intrigued and wanted to get to know her better and be her friend, which I'll explain a little bit later. So it was never intention, like I wasn't purposely flirting. I knew I was like purposely trying to get to know her, but she was 18 and at the time she was straight. I didn't know she was gay, and there was no way in hell I was trying to attempt to date a straight person and turn them or do anything like that. I just subconsciously knew that, like probably halfway through I knew I was like attracted to her. But getting to know her is what I was so intrigued about, so I purposely wanted to really pull her out of her shell and just be friends with her, because she was super shy and introverted. So I would manipulate my height to be close to her. I would give her my chocolate bars at night, and then we wrote notes to each other a lot in BMT. So we would have classes that probably started up maybe second, third week, and so that's where I was manipulating my height. So when we would fall into class, I was like sitting beside her, super close to her, and you know, definitely not supposed to be writing notes in BMT classes, but we all did it. Or we would try to go to the bathroom, and when you came back, you would file in and sit at the very back so you could sit next to kind of who you wanted. That's how we manipulated that game as well. So I would write her notes, and I wrote my number, I wrote Fiesel and my number in her book, and I was like, hey, you know, like, so when we get out of here, you can call me or talk to me or whatever. And she's like, yeah, okay. Because she still at this time was very confusing as far as if she even really wanted me around as a friend or not, because she was really, really hard to read. Another thing that got us really close is we would t-shirt roll. You'd have to fold and do your clothes specifically according to these guidelines. It's all part of being strict and listening to what they say rules-wise. We'd roll t-shirts to put in our drawers and stuff, but some people, we would split up into teams, and some people would roll t-shirts for a bunch of people, all their shirts, and some people would roll all the socks, and we just split up in different groups. Well, me, that was my way of getting real close to Lauren and talking her ear off the whole time. So I would go get our t-shirts at first, so it was just like, I don't know, 12 t-shirts, like 6 a piece or something. The way we had to roll them is we were on the floor and like had all these things, like make them super straight. She was super good at it. I was terrible at it. That was the only way to, like, our hands would get real close. It was like flirting for me. And she didn't really talk. I talked the whole time and just got to know her. I tried to ask her some questions and stuff, but mostly I just told her about me, but we could be close to each other. So that was one thing, and one of the big things is there was a day that we had a huge inspection the next day, so that whole Sunday was just prepping everyone's clothes. So I went around to every bed on my side and I was like, hey, do you have any shirts you need rolled? You need any shirts rolled? You need any shirts? So I had a whole stack. I just grabbed as many as I could to spend as much time with her as I could, and had them all stacked on my shoulder about this high, and I came over to her bed on the other side and I flopped them down, like, hey, I got all the t-shirts to roll. And she's like,
where did you get all those?
I was like, oh, I just asked some people if they needed them rolled, which I think we made it halfway through, and she's like,
I don't want to do these anymore, go give it back to him.
I was like, okay. But we had done it for a long time, and we got to talk, and as this is all going on, I can tell that she kind of maybe wants to be my friend, because I mean, we still talk and hang out, and she doesn't just like avoid me like the plague anymore, like the beginning. So another thing I would do is we would have this thing called EC duty, which was entry control duty. It's one of the worst parts of BMT. You have to wake up in the middle of the night on shifts, just stand at the front door for 2 hours in uniform and do inspections of the people sleeping and write sentences, is what our MTIs made us do. Anyways, I would manipulate the schedule, or I'd be like, hey, I'll volunteer. If I saw someone was with Schmidt, I'd go tell him like, hey, like, you don't have to work the shift, I'll work it for you. So that was another 2 hours of me talking her off to try to get to know her better. Now that I think about it, it sounds like I'm a stalker, but that's not really what happened. I was just trying to get to know her. Okay, all right, I would say by week 4 and 5 was when I really could kind of tell that she was maybe starting to like me or wanted to be around me more, instead of me just basically stalking her. So around that time, I kind of like took a step back. I'm like, maybe I'm reading this wrong and bothering her, because it sounds like I was flirting, which I was flirting, but not purposely, as like I wanted to try to date her. Like, I just am a flirt, so it was happening as I was trying to really get to know her. So I kind of took a step back, and then that's whenever I could tell that she kind of liked me, and I was like, as far as a friend, like, she wanted me around in that aspect, because I kind of like was avoiding her for a little bit. She would come looking for me, but she wouldn't say anything, so it was like the cutest thing, because like I would go hang out with other people like Garen and some of our other friends we made, and I would try to stay away from her to see if she would, you know, want to be around me or come looking for me if I was just like throwing myself out there to just annoy her, basically. And slowly but surely she'd come lingering around. She'd just be like, hey, and she'd just like hang out with whoever I was with, but she wouldn't like try to talk a lot. She just wanted to be where I was, and that's kind of where I was like, all right, so I'm understanding a little bit now. Like, she likes to be around me, but she doesn't want to talk much. I was fine with that. Let's try the scan. I got a new battery, and this side of my face is definitely burning, and Ollie was barking at the thousands of people walking outside because of Rona. 5th week was probably the biggest week, I would say, where I started to realize like I liked her more than just a friend, and me just naturally flirting and just wanting to get to know her. Like, I knew I wanted to be close, good friends with her, but I knew she was straight, or at least I thought I was. There was no gaydar coming off of her whatsoever. 5th week is when we went to Beast Week, which is, I don't know what they call it, Warrior Week now or whatever. And we stay in like a tent, and it's like a practice deployment. You learn some hands-on combat stuff. You stay out in the wilderness and do an obstacle course and all this stuff. That's unimportant. The fact is we were out for a week, out in tent atmosphere on little cots and stuff like that. At this point, we would say we're pretty much she was one of my best friends in the flight at this point. During Beast Week, I had a dream. We were like holding hands, and I was like telling her I liked her and that we nearly kissed. And I was like, we can't do this. Like, you know, you're straight, like you're 18, and like whatever. Like, basically that's how the dream was. And I freaked out. Like, that next morning I woke up and like I avoided her. We went to the showers like separately. I didn't wait for her or anything like that. And she was like, what? Which I told you, around this time is when I could tell she was like trying to like be around me and follow me and like wanted to be around me instead of me going to her every time. She started coming to me. Beast Week had that. Also, like one night, I guess there's like a net that goes around you to keep the bugs and stuff off, and she had tucked me in one night, which, you know, was like a gesture that I was like, okay. And I specifically volunteered us for EC duty that night as well. Out in the tents that we were together, which she was not happy about because she wasn't on the schedule, but I was. So I was like, hey, you want off? Because Schmidt said that she would do it, which she didn't, so whoops. And we had a lot of fun that night. We stayed up talking and in our battle rattle, and you're like miserable half the time, but I don't know. Looking back, I don't ever want to go through BMT again, but if I could find her all over, I would definitely do it, I guess. That was the time that I could tell that I, not subconsciously, consciously knew that I was starting to like her, and I was like, I'm screwing myself over right now falling for someone that's 18, straight, all this stuff. And I didn't want to be in a relationship whatsoever. I had no intentions of wanting to date someone, and I had no idea where she was gonna be stationed, where I was gonna be stationed. I knew I was maintenance, she was intel. I'm like, this isn't gonna work. And so I tried to avoid it. I mean, I didn't try to avoid hanging out with her, but I tried to just blow off the feelings and be like, you know, she's 18, there's no chance with her. Just, you're gonna end up hurting yourself in the long run, but just leave it how it is and just be friends. Having to deal with that, 5th week solidified how I felt about her. And I could kind of tell it was a hint of jealousy. Like, I went to sit with someone else at one point in Beast Week instead of her, and she was real upset. I really thought that was more of like a friend thing, but kind of like liked me, but still had no idea that I would ever get her in the long run. Never even crossed my mind to tell her at this point in 5th week. Things continue to grow every day, all day you're around each other. So basically, in my opinion, we've talked about this before, me and her, us being around each other 24/7 for 6 to 8 weeks straight is the equivalent, in my opinion, of someone dating 6 to 9 months, because you see each other maybe on the weekends if you live close. Couple nights a week, you're going out on dates, but you still have your personal space. You fast forward through all the personal space. You see each other at their worst, they're sweaty, they're smelly, they're irritable, you're tired, you look like trash with 2 hours of like nighttime EC duty and all this stuff. So you see all different aspects of someone fast forward than what you do in a normal world, which most people say BMT relationships or tech school relationships don't ever work or don't ever last. But for me, it wasn't an infatuation to try to have a relationship or date someone. It just kind of happened and evolved, and it scared the shit out of me because I never thought I was gonna get her, and I realized my feelings kept growing day by day the more we got to know each other. Fast forward through the next 2 weeks after Beast Week, it was just our relationship was growing. You could tell that we wanted to be around each other more. I knew she wanted to talk to me. We'd still write each other letters and stuff. During graduation, you have base liberty, and your graduation, you can be off base with your families. Well, that whole time, for those 2 days, we hung out with Lauren's family and my mom, brother, and best friend, and we were around each other that whole time. After that is when I definitely knew. I told my best friend, I was like, I think I'm falling for this 18-year-old. And we laughed about it because right before we had, you know, this is a side note, but we had been to a club or whatever, and an 18-year-old had come up to me at a club, and I was like,
ain't no way in hell I'm dating someone that young.
Like, it's just not gonna happen. And I was like, also added to my best friend Becca, I was like, also, she doesn't, I don't even know if she's like, she's straight. Like, I'm not about to turn her or like confuse her or possibly fall for her and she thinks she might like me and then want to be with a guy. Like, that would break my heart and I don't want to do that. So this is all extremely emotionally confusing towards the end of basic. And then you go to what's called Airman's Week, and we got separated at that point and we were very sad. The night before I was like crying. I don't know if I want to put this on the internet, but yeah, I was very sad because I was about to be separated from her and I was very conflicted if I should tell her I had feelings for her like that or to just let it be that we're friends and just, you know, it was a time we developed a friendship that I, you know, felt something more, but you know, she's straight, she's 18, I'm not gonna mess her life up or confuse her. So I was very conflicted whether I should express my feelings and tell her how I really felt. But we were both very sad because when we went to Airman's Week, we got separated. She went to one flight and I went to another. So this was the first time we would be away from each other 90% of the days because we were in 2 separate buildings and places we were staying. I was with one of our good friends, Garen, and I was kind of telling her, I'm like, I don't know if I should tell her. I would hate for her to go to California. I play this in my head multiple times. I'm like, I would hate for her to go to California, find a boyfriend and call me up because I assume we'd still talk a lot once we got our phones and got out of basic and stopped writing letters. We would talk on the phone and she said that she would talk to me, so I'm like, okay, that's good. And I was very conflicted with her. Like, I knew she cared for me as well, but maybe just as a close friend is kind of how I saw it, which is what I wanted. Anyways, I tell Garen about this stuff and we'd given each other BMT pictures, our graduation photos that we had taken, and you write on the back like back in high school, because I definitely felt like I was in high school and middle school at this point. And she wrote like something super sweet there that I showed Garen, and she's like, yeah, Christina, straight people wouldn't have wrote that to another person. She's like, I think she definitely likes you. I was like, yeah, I don't know. So anyways, I admit to her that I like her, and she told me she felt the same way, which I was like, because knowing she's not gay, she never had a girlfriend or really a boyfriend, I'm like, well, you know, like whenever you're together, like it's more than friends, like you hold hands and kiss and stuff. Like I was confused. I was scared that like maybe she just thought we would be best friends and call it a relationship, but be best friends and not like a relationship, you know? She got all shy and blushed. She's like, I know. And I was like, okay, well, I just don't want you to be confused by like your feelings, because I'm confused that you might think that you're gay, or if you are, I don't know. I'm confused that you said yes to, basically, that she liked me back like that. The day that we were leaving, I asked her out. It's like some middle school stuff, but it's fine. I love her and I'd never take back what had happened. And she said yes, and fast forward through everything, like we dated through distance for the first few months. I proposed to her when we finally, like I went to New Jersey and she went to California. My tech school got changed overnight, basically, that they didn't have enough spots in California and I had to go to Jersey. So for 2.5 months, and I was already in Texas for an extra month longer than her. 3 months away from each other, just talking in distance. I got to see her one time and flew out in San Fran, which is where we had our first kiss and stuff. It was very sweet. And then basically I had to give her a good kiss to make sure I hung on to her for the next 2.5 months that I was going to be in Jersey without her. And when I got to California, our friend Garen, I had mailed our thumbprint rings, which I still wear mine all the time. She wears her diamond when she's not swollen from pregnancy. But I proposed to her with our thumbprint, like she has mine and I have hers, on the beach. We got married Christmas of 2015. We've been together for 4.5 years now. We're almost at our 5-year mark of knowing each other in the military come May. Yeah, now we're about to have a little baby. So I did want to say this, wrapping my stuff up. My biggest thing that I would say that drew me to her is, for some reason, I wouldn't say looks wise, because I think she's absolutely gorgeous and breathtaking all the time. But I knew she was different, and I can't explain how the bond grew at basic, but it just did day by day. And at the end of it, I just realized like I wasn't trying to get to know her to eventually persuade her or think we were gonna be in a relationship. It was because I just saw her and I could tell how oblivious she was to how pretty and amazing her personality was, and her morals and standards and just who she was. I just like looked at someone that didn't know their worth, I guess, is kind of how I viewed her. And me, I feel like I like to look at people and help and like show them that, you know, it doesn't matter what people think of you or what you look like, you know, to other people. It's how you view yourself. And I just could tell the way she carried herself, she never saw her worth or how beautiful she was or any of these things. And I just looked at her all the time, and it just in my head, my subconscious, like I just want to make her feel loved and special for how she should be. And I meant that totally innocently as a friend, and then ended up falling in love with her during the process of, like, you know, I just wanted to show her how much she meant to me individually, how good of a person she is just being her, and let her see how beautiful she was, even though she had no clue how pretty she was. She still to this day doesn't see that she's a very beautiful person externally and internally. I never would have expected in that process I would have found my best friend and my wife, and now baby mama in the process. So I'm very lucky. The story might have taken a while to tell y'all how we met. Lauren's will probably be a lot more shorter and simpler, because in the beginning, as much as I was like trying to get to know her, I still didn't even know if she liked me. And I don't even know when she had a turning page of when she did know she liked me like that, because we still can't identify that even when we talk about it all the time. But I love her, she's my best friend, and I wouldn't trade this entire experience, and no way could I have ever imagined that this is how my life would have been joining the military to find her. But I'd do it all over again just to be with her. She's definitely my soulmate. But that is how me and Lauren met. Bye!